6 months after her first successful combat mission, Captain Sarah Mitchell had established herself as one of the most effective B-2 pilots in the squadron. She had completed 4 additional combat sorties, each achieving precise target destruction while maintaining perfect safety records. Her reputation for accuracy and professionalism had earned respect from colleagues who once questioned her presence in the program. The morning of March 15th brought news of Operation Thunderstrike, the largest strategic bombing campaign since World War II. Intelligence had identified a network of 12 heavily fortified enemy installations that coordinated terrorist activities across multiple regions. These facilities included weapons manufacturing plants, training camps, command centers, and communication hubs that enabled enemy forces to plan and execute attacks against civilian populations. General Patricia Stone called an emergency briefing for all available B-2 pilots. Sarah entered the secure conference room alongside 17 other pilots, understanding that the scope of this mission exceeded anything they had previously undertaken. The wall displays showed satellite images of target locations spread across thousands of square miles of hostile territory. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face an unprecedented challenge," General Stone announced. "Intelligence has confirmed that enemy forces are preparing coordinated attacks against major population centers. These 12 facilities represent the heart of their operational capability. Destroying them simultaneously will effectively neutralize their ability to conduct future terrorist operations." Sarah studied the mission parameters carefully, noting the complexity of coordinating attacks across multiple time zones and geographic regions. Each target required precise timing to achieve simultaneous destruction, preventing enemy forces from warning other installations about incoming attacks. The mission would involve the largest deployment of B-2 aircraft in a single operation. "Captain Mitchell, you will lead Formation Alpha against targets 1 through 4, General Stone continued. "These facilities represent the enemy's primary command structure and must be destroyed within a 15-minute window to prevent communication with remaining installations." The assignment represented the highest level of responsibility Sarah had ever received. Leading a formation of 4 B-2 bombers against the most critical targets demonstrated complete confidence in her abilities and judgment. She would coordinate not only her own weapons delivery, but also the timing and approach of 3 other aircraft. The mission planning phase consumed 3 days as pilots studied target folders, weather forecasts, and enemy air defense capabilities. Each facility presented unique challenges, from underground bunkers requiring massive penetrating weapons to surface structures demanding precision placement to avoid nearby civilian areas. Sarah's target package included the primary enemy headquarters, a sprawling complex hidden beneath a mountain in remote terrain. The facility coordinated terrorist activities worldwide and contained the senior leadership responsible for planning attacks against innocent civilians. Destroying it would eliminate the organizational structure that enabled enemy operations. Target preparation required loading each B-2 with specialized weapons matched to their specific objectives. Sarah's aircraft carried 8 GBU, 57 bunker-buster bombs, and 8 GBU, 31 precision-guided bombs, providing the capability to destroy both hardened and conventional structures. The weapons loading process took 12 hours as crews verified each system's operation. During the final mission briefing, Sarah addressed the other pilots in her formation. Lieutenant Colonel Mark Stevens, Major Jennifer Walsh, and Captain David Kim would follow her lead during the approach and attack phases, coordinating their weapons delivery to achieve simultaneous target destruction. "Our success depends on precise timing and flawless execution," Sarah emphasized. "Each facility must be destroyed within seconds of the others to prevent warning communications. Any deviation from planned attack timing could compromise the entire operation." The pilots reviewed emergency procedures and communication protocols while meteorologists provided final weather updates. Conditions over the target areas included scattered clouds and light winds that would minimally affect weapon accuracy. Launch was scheduled for midnight to take advantage of darkness during the approach phase. Pre-flight preparation began 4 hours before takeoff as Sarah suited up in her pressure gear and completed extensive aircraft inspections. The B-2 Two had undergone complete maintenance checks to ensure system reliability during the 18-hour mission ahead. Every component had been tested and verified as mission-ready. Ground crews loaded the final navigation updates and target coordinates into the aircraft's computers while Sarah completed her cockpit setup. The mission would require precise navigation across multiple ocean crossings and through heavily defended airspace, where even minimal deviations could expose the formation to enemy detection. Spirit Formation Alpha, you are cleared to taxi, the control tower announced at 2,300 hours. Weather is clear, visibility unlimited. Execute your mission and return safely. Sarah acknowledged the clearance while leading her formation toward the runway. For B, two bombers taxied in precise formation, their angular shapes barely visible against the dark tarmac. Each aircraft carried enough ordnance to destroy multiple heavily fortified targets with surgical precision. Takeoff proceeded smoothly as the formation departed at 30-second intervals to maintain proper spacing. Sarah climbed to cruise altitude while monitoring her wingman's positions on radar displays. The formation would fly together for the first 2,000 miles before separating for individual target approaches. The first aerial refueling took place 6 hours into the flight as KC-135 tanker aircraft provided fuel for the long journey ahead. Sarah coordinated her formation's refueling sequence while maintaining precise positions relative to the tanker aircraft. Thousands of pounds of fuel transferred into each bomber's tanks during the critical operation. Alpha formation, fuel complete, the tanker crew announced. You're showing full tanks across the formation. Good hunting on your mission. Sarah led her formation away from the tanker and resumed course toward enemy territory. The bombers would cross into contested airspace in 4 hours, requiring heightened vigilance for enemy air defenses and fighter patrols. Their stealth capabilities would provide protection, but mission success depended on maintaining invisibility until weapons release. 10 hours into the flight, Sarah began the final approach phase toward her target area. The enemy headquarters complex lay hidden beneath 200 feet of solid rock, protected by multiple layers of air defense systems. Intelligence reports indicated heavy fighter patrols in the region, though their aircraft lacked sensors capable of detecting approaching B-2s. Alpha formation, beginning target approaches, Sarah transmitted over encrypted communications. Maintain radio silence until weapons away. Good luck to all crews. The formation separated as each aircraft maneuvered toward its assigned targets. Sarah descended slightly to optimize her bombing approach while activating the sophisticated targeting systems. The enemy headquarters appeared on her displays as a series of concealed entrances and ventilation shafts scattered across the mountainside. Enemy radar sites operated continuously below her position, their search beams passing harmlessly around the stealth aircraft. Surface-to-air missile batteries remained on high alert, but their sensors showed no indication of incoming threats. Sarah's presence remained undetected as she approached the final attack point. The targeting computer calculated precise release parameters while Sarah maintained optimal airspeed and altitude. The headquarters complex contained multiple underground levels connected by tunnels and elevators. Her bunker-buster bombs would penetrate deep into the mountain before detonating, destroying the entire facility from within. At the calculated release point, Sarah triggered her first weapon salvo. For massive bombs separated from the aircraft cleanly, their GPS guidance systems immediately acquiring target coordinates. She banked slightly and prepared for the second weapon's pass against remaining portions of the complex. Weapons away, target 1. She reported while monitoring the bomb's progress toward their destination. The weapons fell silently through the night sky, guided by satellite signals and inertial navigation systems toward their precise impact points. Brilliant flashes erupted across the mountainside as the bombs detonated deep underground. Secondary explosions indicated successful penetration of the headquarters complex, destroying communication equipment and command facilities critical to enemy operations. The mountain shook as underground chambers collapsed from the massive detonations. Sarah immediately proceeded to her secondary targets, while other formation aircraft executed their own attacks. The precision timing achieved simultaneous destruction across all 12 facilities, preventing any warning communications between installations. Enemy command and control capabilities were eliminated within minutes. Alpha 2, weapons away, target 5 destroyed. Lieutenant Colonel Stevens reported as his bombs found their targets with devastating accuracy. Alpha 3, direct hits on target 7. Major Walsh confirmed, her precision strikes eliminating another critical facility. Alpha 4, targets 9 and 10 destroyed, Captain Kim announced, completing his weapons delivery against weapons manufacturing plants. Sarah's second target required an approach from a different heading to avoid known air defense positions. The communication facility coordinated encrypted transmissions between enemy cells worldwide, making its destruction critical to preventing future terrorist operations. Her remaining bombs would eliminate the installation completely. The targeting system locked onto the communication arrays and control buildings as Sarah began her final bombing run. The facility included massive antenna systems and underground equipment chambers that processed thousands of messages daily. Destroying it would sever communications between terrorist groups globally. At weapon release, her remaining 4 bombs separated from the aircraft simultaneously. Each guided weapon targeted a different component of the communication facility, ensuring complete destruction of the complex. Sarah monitored their progress while maneuvering away from the target area. Explosions erupted across the communication site as the bombs detonated with devastating precision. Antenna towers collapsed while underground facilities disappeared in brilliant flashes. Secondary explosions from fuel and equipment storage created additional destruction beyond the primary impact points. Alpha Lead, all primary and secondary targets destroyed, Sarah reported. Formation Alpha beginning egress phase. The return journey required navigating through increased enemy air activity as fighter patrols responded to the destruction of their facilities. Sarah climbed to maximum altitude while maintaining stealth protocols to avoid detection. The mission had achieved complete success, but the formation remained vulnerable during the long flight home. For hours into the egress phase, Alpha Formation rendezvoused with tanker aircraft for refueling. The KC-135 crews congratulated the pilots on their successful mission as fuel flowed into the bomber's tanks. Intelligence reports confirmed the destruction of all 12 targeted facilities and the collapse of enemy command structures. Outstanding mission execution, Alpha Formation, the tanker pilot transmitted. Initial battle damage assessments show 100% target destruction with minimal collateral damage. Textbook precision bombing. Sarah felt immense satisfaction hearing confirmation of the operation's success. The coordinated strikes had achieved their objectives while minimizing civilian casualties, demonstrating the effectiveness of precision warfare conducted by highly trained professionals. More importantly, the mission had eliminated terrorist capabilities that threatened innocent populations worldwide. The final approach to Whiteman Air Force Base took place during daylight hours as the formation descended through clear skies. Ground controllers guided them to the runway while media crews prepared to document their return from the historic mission. The 18-hour flight had tested both aircraft and crews to their limits. Landing in formation order, each B-2 touched down smoothly on the main runway. Sarah taxied her aircraft to the parking area while ground crews prepared for post-flight inspections. The mission had been completed successfully with no aircraft losses or system failures. Colonel Harrison was waiting in the briefing room with General Stone and several Pentagon officials who had flown in to debrief the mission. Their expressions showed pride and satisfaction as they reviewed preliminary mission reports and weapon impact assessments. Captain Mitchell, your leadership of Formation Alpha exceeded all expectations, General Stone announced. The precision and timing of your attacks eliminated critical enemy capabilities while demonstrating the highest levels of professionalism and skill. The mission debriefing included detailed analysis of weapon effects and tactical procedures. Sarah's formation had achieved 100% target destruction with remarkable accuracy, establishing new standards for strategic bombing operations. The success validated years of training and preparation by all personnel involved. News of Operation Thunderstrike spread globally within hours as media outlets reported the successful elimination of terrorist infrastructure. Sarah's role as formation leader received particular attention, highlighting her achievement as a symbol of women's capabilities in combat aviation. Captain Mitchell has demonstrated exceptional leadership and flying skills, Colonel Harrison told assembled reporters. Her performance during this operation represents the highest traditions of military aviation and serves as an inspiration to all service members. 3 weeks later, Sarah received notification of her promotion to major and assignment as deputy squadron commander. The promotion recognized her outstanding performance and leadership capabilities while providing increased responsibilities for training future B-2 pilots. During the promotion ceremony, General Stone presented Sarah with the Distinguished Flying Cross for exceptional heroism during Operation Thunderstrike. The medal recognized her leadership of the most successful strategic bombing mission in recent military history. Major Mitchell has set new standards for excellence in strategic bomber operations, General Stone announced. Her achievements have eliminated significant terrorist threats while proving that capability and dedication transcend all other considerations in military aviation. Sarah's parents attended the ceremony, their faces showing pride and emotion as they watched their daughter receive recognition for her service. Her father, the crop duster pilot who had first inspired her love of flying, wiped tears from his eyes as the medal was pinned to her uniform. "She's exceeded every dream I had for her," he told reporters after the ceremony. "Watching her receive this honor makes me proud not just as her father, but as an American who believes in what this country can accomplish." In her acceptance speech, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. From facing doubt and skepticism during training to leading formation attacks against critical targets, she had proven that determination and skill could overcome any obstacle. "This recognition belongs not just to me, but to every person who believed that merit should be the only measure of military capability," she said. The success of Operation Thunderstrike demonstrates what we can achieve when we focus on excellence rather than prejudice. Following the ceremony, Sarah began her new duties as Deputy Squadron Commander. Her responsibilities included training incoming pilots and developing tactics for future strategic bombing operations. She was determined to ensure that the B-2 program continued producing pilots capable of meeting any challenge. The 12 destroyed facilities had indeed eliminated major terrorist capabilities, as intelligence reports confirmed over the following months. Enemy communications networks remained disrupted, weapons production had ceased, and command structures struggled to reorganize. The mission had achieved strategic objectives that extended far beyond the immediate target destruction. Sarah's success story became an inspiration for women throughout the military, demonstrating that combat aviation offered opportunities for those with the skills and determination to excel. Her achievements helped accelerate the integration of women into all military specialties while maintaining focus on merit-based selection. On quiet evenings, Sarah would stand before her B-2 in the hangar, reflecting on the journey from doubt to domination that had defined her career. The whispers and skepticism that once followed her had been replaced by respect earned through exceptional performance under combat conditions. She had not only proven herself worthy of flying America's most advanced bomber, but had established new standards for excellence that would influence military aviation for generations to come. The girl from Oklahoma who had dreamed of flying had become one of the most accomplished combat pilots in military history. Her achievements measured not in gender milestones, but in successful missions and lives saved through precision warfare. From facing doubt about her capabilities to leading formation attacks against critical enemy targets, Sarah had demonstrated that courage, skill, and determination could overcome any challenge in pursuit of excellence. 3 months after completing her B-2 qualification, Captain Sarah Mitchell received her first combat assignment. Operation Desert Shield required precision strikes against heavily fortified enemy installations deep in hostile territory. Intelligence reports indicated that enemy forces had established a network of underground command bunkers protected by sophisticated air defense systems. The mission briefing took place in a secure facility at Whiteman Air Force Base. Sarah entered the classified briefing room alongside 11 other B-2 pilots, all veterans of previous combat operations. She was the only woman in the group, and the first female pilot selected for this particular type of strategic mission. General Patricia Stone, the mission commander, began the briefing with an overview of the tactical situation. Enemy forces had captured a strategic region containing vital infrastructure, and conventional attacks had proven ineffective against their hardened defensive positions. The B-2 Spirit's stealth capabilities and precision-guided munitions offered the best opportunity to neutralize these targets without massive collateral damage. Ladies and gentlemen, this operation will require surgical precision, General Stone announced. Each aircraft will carry 16 GBU, 57 bunker-buster bombs capable of penetrating 200 feet of reinforced concrete. Your targets include command centers, communication facilities, and weapons storage sites critical to enemy operations. Sarah studied the mission maps carefully, memorizing target coordinates and ingress routes. Her assigned targets included 2 command bunkers and a heavily defended radar installation. The flight would require 16 hours of continuous operation, including aerial refueling over international waters and navigation through contested airspace. The intelligence officer provided detailed information about enemy air defenses. Surface-to-air missile sites ringed each target area, equipped with advanced radar systems capable of detecting conventional aircraft at ranges exceeding 150 miles. However, the B-2 stealth technology would make it virtually invisible until weapons release, providing a crucial advantage. Captain Mitchell, your target package includes the primary enemy command center, the intelligence officer explained. This facility coordinates defensive operations across the entire region. Destroying it will significantly degrade enemy command and control capabilities. Sarah nodded, understanding the critical nature of her assignment. Success would potentially save thousands of lives by shortening the conflict, while failure could result in continued enemy resistance and prolonged warfare. The pressure was enormous, but she felt prepared for the challenge. Following the briefing, Sarah spent hours reviewing technical manuals and weather forecasts. The mission would launch during new moon conditions, providing maximum concealment during the approach phase. However, atmospheric conditions over the target area included possible thunderstorms that could affect weapon accuracy. Her aircraft underwent extensive pre-flight preparation as maintenance crews loaded the massive bunker-buster bombs into the internal weapons bay. Each bomb weighed 5,000 pounds and contained sophisticated guidance systems capable of hitting targets within 3 meters of their designated impact points. The loading process took 6 hours due to the weapon's size and complexity. Colonel Harrison approached as Sarah completed her pre-flight inspection. His expression reflected the gravity of the mission while showing confidence in her abilities. "Mitchell, I selected you for this assignment because you demonstrated exceptional performance during training," he said. "Command has expressed concerns about sending our newest pilot on such a critical mission, but I believe you're ready. Don't prove me wrong." Sarah appreciated his confidence while understanding the risks he was taking by recommending her. A failed mission would reflect poorly on his judgment and potentially affect her future assignments. She was determined to justify his faith in her abilities. The pre-flight briefing included final weather updates and intelligence reports. Enemy fighter patrols had increased around the target areas, though their aircraft lacked the sensors necessary to detect approaching B-2s. Surface-to-air missile sites remained active, but their effectiveness against stealth aircraft was limited. Remember, maintaining stealth is critical until weapons release, the mission commander emphasized. Any deviation from planned flight paths or altitudes could compromise your position and endanger other aircraft. Communication will be minimal to avoid detection. Sarah suited up in her pressure gear, the specialized equipment necessary for high-altitude flight. The process took 45 minutes as technicians verified each system's operation and sealed her helmet. The suit would sustain her during the 16-hour mission, providing life support and protection against potential cabin pressurization loss. Walking to her aircraft in the pre-dawn darkness, Sarah felt the familiar mixture of excitement and apprehension that preceded combat missions. The B-2 sat silently on the ramp, its angular surfaces invisible against the dark sky. Ground crews made final preparations while she completed her walk-around inspection. Climbing into the cockpit, Sarah began the extensive startup procedures required for B-2 operations. Each system required careful verification as she brought the aircraft's complex electronics online. The navigation computers loaded mission waypoints while she verified weapon programming and stealth system operation. Engine startup proceeded smoothly as the 4 turbofan engines spooled up to idle power. The B-2's engines were specially designed to minimize infrared signature, their exhaust carefully managed to avoid detection by enemy sensors. Sarah monitored engine parameters while completing final pre-taxi checks. Spirit 27, you are cleared to taxi runway 09, the control tower announced. Wind is calm, visibility unlimited. Execute your mission and return safely. Sarah acknowledged the clearance while advancing power slightly to begin taxiing. The massive bomber moved slowly across the tarmac, its weight requiring careful power management during ground operations. She reached the runway threshold and completed final checks before requesting takeoff clearance. Spirit 27 cleared for takeoff. Good hunting, Captain. Advancing the throttles to military power, Sarah felt the B-2 accelerate down the runway. At 180 knots, she rotated gently, and the aircraft lifted into the night sky. Climbing steadily toward cruise altitude, she retracted the landing gear and configured the aircraft for long-range flight. The first waypoint lay 400 miles ahead, marking the beginning of her journey toward enemy territory. Sarah settled into the rhythm of long-range navigation while monitoring multiple systems displays. The mission would test her endurance as much as her flying skills during the marathon flight ahead. 2 hours into the flight, she rendezvoused with a KC-135 tanker aircraft for the first of 2 scheduled refuelings. The aerial refueling process required precise formation flying as she maneuvered behind the tanker and connected to the fuel probe. Thousands of pounds of fuel transferred into the B-2's tanks, while both aircraft maintained exact positions. Spirit 27, fuel transfer complete, the tanker crew announced. You're showing full tanks. Good luck on your mission. Sarah disconnected from the tanker and resumed course toward the target area. The B-2 now carried enough fuel to complete the mission and return to base, though a second refueling was scheduled for the return journey. She climbed to operational altitude and engaged the autopilot for the long cruise phase. Hour after hour passed as Sarah monitored navigation and system status. The B-2's stealth systems operated automatically, adjusting the aircraft's radar signature to maintain invisibility. She crossed into contested airspace without detection, her presence unknown to enemy air defense networks. The target area appeared on her navigation display as she approached the initial attack point. Sarah disengaged the autopilot and took manual control, preparing for the precision bombing run. Enemy radar sites operated below her position, their beams passing harmlessly around the stealth aircraft. Approaching target area, she reported over the encrypted communication system. Beginning attack sequence. Sarah activated the targeting system and began her approach to the first target. The command bunker appeared on her displays, a hardened structure buried beneath 50 feet of reinforced concrete. Intelligence reports indicated it contained the enemy's primary communication center and regional command staff. The bombing computer calculated release parameters while Sarah maintained precise airspeed and altitude. The target grew larger on her display as she aligned the aircraft for optimal weapon delivery. At the calculated release point, she triggered the first weapon. The 5,000-pound bunker buster separated from the aircraft cleanly, its GPS guidance system immediately acquiring the target coordinates. Sarah banked away from the release point while the weapon fell toward its destination. Seconds later, a brilliant flash illuminated the ground as the bomb detonated deep underground. Direct hit on primary target, she reported. Proceeding to secondary objectives. The second target lay 15 miles away, requiring a new approach heading to avoid known air defense sites. Sarah programmed the navigation system while monitoring for enemy fighters. The destruction of the command center had likely triggered increased enemy activity, though their aircraft posed little threat to her stealth bomber. Target 2 required a precision strike against a radar installation that coordinated enemy air defenses. Destroying it would create a gap in their detection network that follow-on forces could exploit. Sarah approached from the northwest, using terrain features to mask her approach until the final attack phase. The targeting system locked onto the radar facility as Sarah began her bombing run. The installation included multiple antenna arrays and control buildings spread across a 2-square-mile area. Her bombs would destroy the primary control center and main antenna, effectively neutralizing the entire complex. At weapon release, four bombs separated simultaneously from the B-2's internal bay. Each guided weapon targeted a different component of the radar installation, ensuring complete destruction of the facility. Sarah monitored their progress on her targeting display while maneuvering away from the target area. Explosions erupted across the radar site as the bombs found their targets with precision. Secondary explosions indicated that fuel and ammunition storage areas had been damaged, creating additional destruction beyond the primary impact points. The entire facility disappeared in a series of brilliant flashes. Secondary targets destroyed, Sarah reported. Beginning egress phase. The return journey would cover 3,000 miles of ocean and contested airspace before reaching her home base. Sarah climbed to maximum altitude and engaged the autopilot for the long cruise home. The mission had achieved its objectives successfully, but she remained alert for potential threats during the return flight. For hours later, she rendezvoused with another tanker aircraft for the scheduled refueling. The KC-135 crew congratulated her on mission success as fuel flowed into the B-2's tanks. Media reports were already confirming the destruction of enemy command facilities and the collapse of their regional air defense network. Outstanding work, Spirit 27, the tanker pilot transmitted. Ground forces report enemy resistance has dropped significantly in your target areas. Those were textbook strikes. Sarah felt satisfaction at hearing confirmation of her mission's success. The precision bombing had achieved its objectives while minimizing collateral damage, demonstrating the effectiveness of stealth technology combined with accurate weapons delivery. More importantly, her performance had validated the decision to include women in strategic bomber operations. The final approach to Whiteman Air Force Base took place in daylight as Sarah descended through clear skies. Ground controllers guided her to the runway, while maintenance crews prepared for post-flight inspection. The 16-hour mission had tested her endurance and skill, but both pilot and aircraft had performed flawlessly. Touching down smoothly on the main runway, Sarah felt the satisfaction of mission accomplishment. She had successfully completed her first combat assignment, destroying critical enemy facilities while maintaining the stealth and precision that made B-2 operations so effective. The doubts and skepticism that had followed her throughout training were now replaced by proven combat performance. Colonel Harrison was waiting in the debriefing room when Sarah completed her post-flight procedures. His expression showed pride and satisfaction as he reviewed her mission report and weapon impact assessments. Exceptional performance, Captain, he announced. Your bombing accuracy exceeded all expectations, and your mission timing was perfect. This operation demonstrates that our training programs are producing pilots capable of handling the most demanding combat assignments. Sarah appreciated the recognition while understanding that this mission was only the beginning. Her success had opened the door for future assignments, each potentially more challenging than the last. She had proven her capabilities under combat conditions, but maintaining that level of performance would require continued dedication and skill development. The mission debriefing included analysis of weapon effects and tactical lessons learned. Sarah's precision bombing had achieved 100% target destruction while adhering to strict rules of engagement designed to minimize civilian casualties. Her performance established new standards for accuracy and professionalism that would influence future mission planning. News of the successful operation spread quickly through military channels, with particular attention paid to Sarah's role as the first female pilot to complete this type of strategic bombing mission. Her achievement represented a significant milestone in the integration of women into combat aviation roles. That evening, Sarah called her family to report her safe return. She couldn't discuss mission details due to security classifications, but her father understood from her tone that the assignment had been successful. I saw the news reports about successful bombing missions, he said. I'm proud of what you're accomplishing, but I worry about the dangers you're facing. Take care of yourself out there." Sarah promised to remain cautious while pursuing the demanding career she had chosen. The success of her first combat mission had validated years of training and preparation, but she understood that each subsequent assignment would bring new challenges and risks. Standing before her B-2 in the hangar that night, Sarah reflected on the day's achievements. She had successfully delivered precision strikes against heavily defended targets, contributing to the broader military campaign while demonstrating her capabilities as a strategic bomber pilot. The mission represented a personal milestone and a significant step forward for women in combat aviation. Captain Sarah Mitchell stared at the massive gray shape looming in the hangar, its angular surfaces seeming to absorb the fluorescent lights overhead. The B-2 Spirit bomber looked like something from a science fiction movie, not the aircraft she would soon be flying into combat zones. At 28 years old, she had already logged over 2,000 flight hours in various military aircraft. But nothing had prepared her for this moment. The whispers started before she even entered the briefing room. Male pilots clustered in small groups, their conversations dying as she walked past. She caught fragments of their discussions, questions about whether women belonged in strategic bombers, doubts about physical capabilities during 18-hour missions, concerns about unit cohesion. Sarah kept her expression neutral, but each comment felt like a small cut. Colonel James Harrison, the squadron commander, called the briefing to order. The room fell silent as he began outlining the new pilot assignments. When he announced that Captain Mitchell would be joining the B-2 program, the silence grew heavier. She could feel eyes on her, measuring, judging, waiting for her to fail. The B-2 Spirit represents the pinnacle of American air power, Colonel Harrison continued, his voice carrying the weight of authority. Each aircraft costs $2.2 billion. Each mission can determine the outcome of entire military campaigns. There is no room for error, no margin for weakness, and no tolerance for anything less than absolute excellence. Sarah understood the message behind his words. She would be watched more closely than any male pilot. Every mistake would be magnified, every success questioned. The pressure was immense, but she had faced doubt before. Growing up in rural Oklahoma, Sarah had dreamed of flying since childhood. Her father, a crop duster pilot, had taken her up in his small plane when she was 8 years old. The moment they left the ground, she knew her destiny lay in the sky. But pursuing that dream meant constantly proving herself in a male-dominated field. At the Air Force Academy, she graduated third in her class while enduring constant scrutiny about her abilities. Flight school brought new challenges as instructors pushed her harder than her male classmates, testing her resolve at every turn. She excelled in every phase, earning top scores in navigation, weapons systems, and tactical operations. Now, standing before the most advanced bomber in the world, all those years of preparation would be tested. The B-2 Spirit was unlike any aircraft she had flown. Its stealth technology made it nearly invisible to enemy radar. But that same technology created unique challenges for pilots. The fly-by-wire controls responded differently than conventional aircraft, requiring precise inputs and constant attention. Training began immediately. Sarah spent 16 hours each day studying systems manuals, memorizing emergency procedures, and practicing in flight simulators. The B-2's cockpit contained over 100 switches and controls, each critical to mission success. She learned to operate the aircraft's sophisticated radar systems, navigate using GPS and inertial guidance, and deploy various types of ordnance with pinpoint accuracy. Major Tom Bradley became her primary instructor, a veteran pilot with over 3,000 hours in strategic bombers. Initially skeptical of having a female student, he quickly recognized Sarah's exceptional abilities. Her situational awareness exceeded that of most experienced pilots, and her ability to multitask under pressure impressed even the most hardened veterans. "Mitchell, you're picking this up faster than anyone I've trained," Major Bradley admitted after a particularly challenging simulator session. But real combat is different. When you're flying over enemy territory for 18 hours straight, when surface-to-air missiles are tracking your position, when the success of an entire operation depends on your precision, that's when we discover what a pilot is truly made of. Sarah nodded, understanding that her real test still lay ahead. The training missions grew progressively more complex, incorporating electronic warfare scenarios, multiple target engagements, and emergency procedures. She practiced flying with minimal sleep, simulating the fatigue that would accompany long-range strategic missions. Her fellow trainees gradually began accepting her presence. Lieutenant Mark Rodriguez, initially one of her harshest critics, became a valuable study partner. Together, they memorized weapon delivery procedures and practiced radio communications until their responses became automatic. "You know, Mitchell, I was wrong about you," Rodriguez admitted one evening as they reviewed flight plans. "I thought bringing women into the B-2 program was some kind of political statement. But watching you fly, seeing how you handle stress, you belong here as much as any of us." The compliment meant more than Rodriguez realized. Sarah had fought for every opportunity, earned every achievement through skill and determination rather than favoritism. She understood that her success would open doors for other women, making her performance even more critical. 6 months into training, Sarah faced her final evaluation. The mission scenario involved a simulated strike against heavily defended targets in enemy territory. She would fly alone for the first portion, testing her ability to handle the aircraft's complex systems without assistance. The evaluators would monitor her performance from the ground, noting every decision and procedure. Climbing into the B-2's cockpit for the evaluation flight, Sarah felt the weight of expectation pressing down on her. Failure would mean removal from the program, and likely transfer to a less prestigious assignment. Success would make her one of fewer than 50 pilots qualified to fly America's most advanced bomber. The pre-flight checks took nearly an hour as Sarah verified each system's operation. The B-2's engine spooled up with a distinctive whistle, their thrust carefully managed to maintain the aircraft's stealth profile. She taxied to the runway, receiving final clearance from the control tower. "Spirit 11, you are cleared for takeoff. Weather is clear, winds light, and variable. Good luck, Captain." Sarah advanced the throttles smoothly, feeling 340,000 pounds of aircraft accelerate down the runway. The B-2 lifted off gracefully despite its massive weight, climbing steadily toward its operational altitude. At 50,000 feet, she leveled off and began the long journey toward her simulated target area. The flight would test every skill she had learned during months of intensive training. Navigation across thousands of miles of airspace, weapon system management, fuel consumption calculations, and threat avoidance procedures all required constant attention. Any significant error would result in mission failure. For hours into the flight, the first simulated threat appeared on her radar warning system. Enemy fighters were attempting to intercept her position, forcing Sarah to adjust her course while maintaining stealth protocols. She banked left, using the B-2's sophisticated jamming systems to confuse enemy sensors. The aircraft responded to her inputs with precision, its computer-controlled flight surfaces automatically adjusting to maintain optimal stealth characteristics. Sarah monitored multiple displays simultaneously, tracking fuel consumption, navigation waypoints, and potential threats while preparing her weapon systems for the upcoming target run. As she approached the simulated target area, Sarah's training took over completely. Years of preparation condensed into moments of intense focus as she aligned her aircraft for the bombing run. The targeting system locked onto the designated coordinates while she made final adjustments for wind speed and aircraft attitude. Target acquired, weapon systems armed. She reported over the radio, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. The simulation would evaluate her accuracy to within meters, testing her ability to deliver precision strikes under combat conditions. At the designated release point, Sarah initiated the weapon sequence. In actual combat, 16 precision-guided bombs would separate from the aircraft, each guided by GPS and laser designation to its individual target. The simulation recorded her timing and accuracy, providing instant feedback on her performance. Banking away from the target area, Sarah began the long return journey to base. The evaluation flight had lasted 12 hours, testing her physical endurance as well as her flying skills. Her lower back ached from hours in the ejection seat, and fatigue threatened to cloud her judgment during the final approach. Landing the B-2 required exceptional precision due to its unique flight characteristics. The aircraft's stealth design created unusual aerodynamic properties, demanding constant attention during the approach phase. Sarah configured the aircraft for landing, extending the landing gear and adjusting the flight controls for the final descent. The runway appeared ahead, its approach lights providing guidance during the night landing. Sarah maintained precise airspeed and glide path, making small corrections as wind conditions changed. The massive bomber touched down smoothly, its tires smoking briefly as the aircraft settled onto the runway. Taxiing back to the hangar, Sarah felt a mixture of exhaustion and accomplishment. She had completed one of the most demanding evaluation flights in military aviation, demonstrating her capability to operate the world's most advanced bomber. But she knew that passing the evaluation was only the beginning. Colonel Harrison was waiting in the briefing room when she completed her post-flight procedures. His expression revealed nothing as she entered, still wearing her flight suit and carrying her helmet. The evaluation board had already reviewed her performance data, analyzing every aspect of the 12-hour mission. "Captain Mitchell, your performance today met all evaluation standards," the colonel announced. "You have demonstrated the skills necessary to operate the B-2 Spirit in combat conditions. Welcome to the program." Relief flooded through Sarah as she realized she had achieved her goal. Months of intensive training had culminated in this moment. Official qualification as a B-2 pilot. But she understood that the real challenges lay ahead. Combat missions would test her abilities in ways that no training exercise could simulate. The other pilots in her training class offered congratulations, their earlier skepticism replaced by genuine respect. She had earned her place through skill and determination, proving that gender was irrelevant when measuring pilot capability. The path ahead would bring new challenges, but Sarah felt ready to face whatever missions awaited her. That evening, Sarah called her father in Oklahoma to share the news. His voice carried pride and concern in equal measure as he congratulated her achievement while worrying about the dangers she would face in combat. "I always knew you could fly anything with wings," he said. "Your mother would be proud of what you've accomplished. Just promise me you'll be careful out there." Sarah promised, understanding that her success carried responsibilities beyond her own career. She represented all the women who had fought for opportunities in combat aviation, and her performance would influence future policies regarding female pilots in strategic bomber operations. Standing before the B-2 in the hangar that night, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. Years of training, countless hours of study, and unwavering determination had culminated in qualification to fly America's most advanced bomber. Tomorrow would bring new challenges as she prepared for her first operational assignment. But tonight she could savor the satisfaction of achieving a goal that many had thought impossible. The whispers and doubts that had followed her throughout training would soon be replaced by the reality of combat performance. Sarah understood that proving herself in training was only the first step. Real validation would come when she demonstrated her abilities under enemy fire, delivering precision strikes against heavily defended targets while maintaining the stealth and accuracy that made the B-2 Spirit such a formidable weapon. As she walked toward her quarters, Sarah felt the weight of history on her shoulders. She was pioneering a path that future generations of female pilots would follow, and her success or failure would influence military aviation policy for years to come. The responsibility was enormous, but so was her determination to succeed.